Okay, can my screen be seen?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, all right. So I have shared the installation of the Visual Studio Code presentation with Kidia. Um, Once we are done with the training, I will share the one for the GitHub and also for the HTML and CSS. Okay. So for HTML and CSS, HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language, and that is basically the language for the web. So it's just a set of keywords and then instructions we use to build web pages and then the web portals we all know and love. Yes. On this slide, we have a combination of the HTML and then the CSS. So the HTML basically tells the browser how to display content onto the screen. If the content should be a title, a heading, should it be a link, style sheets is um, is a language which is used to express design and then also show how the image or the screen should be displayed. So if you have a button on the screen, what styling do you want it to be like? Do you want it in a bold styling or italicized, or you want it with a red background, a blue background? Basically, that is what the CSS does. So the CSS saves us a lot of work because it can be used across multiple pages. So you can have one CSS that cuts across all the pages. So your home page, your about page, your index, your contact us. You can have a styling sheet that cuts across all of them, and then you can use it for your fonting, your your fonts basically. Also, so CSS are stored in external files. So you can either have a CSS in external file or have it in an inline or internal. So we have that's the three types of CSS. So we have the internal, the external, and then the inline. So for the internal, it is basically placed or embedded in the HTML codes. So we have it at the head of the HTML file majority of the times. So I'll break the HTML down when we are doing the live demo, and then we'll get to know where the styling goes in and then where the other elements also come in. So in the head of the HTML, we have the style, and that is where the internal CSS is. And that is where, from the picture we see, that is where most of the HTML goes. We are using the inline, the internal, sorry. For the external, you can create a separate file and then reference that file in your HTML code. So with that, we use in the head of the document, we use an element called link, which has an attribute, which is a href, so the hyperlink reference. And that is what is used to reference the file that the CSS is in. The CSS file always has the extension .css. We have other forms of CSS, which is the SCSS and then the LCSS. But then we mostly and most commonly used CSS file format is the .css. The inline CSS is used especially when you want to style a particular item. Let's say you have a paragraph, and this we will do a demo of all of them. Let's say you have a paragraph and you want to put a box around the paragraph. You have a CSS style that you use, and then you input that in line with the elements. So you add it as an attribute using the attribute title star. And that is what is used in there. So I'll share this slide also with you, and then I'll quickly jump straight to live demo. Um, yeah. Okay. So in
Ah, okay.
and inside this, so we can all go to the second icon on the menu, create a new folder, name it day-1. And then inside that, you create a new file. And this file will be called index.html. All right. So what we'll do now is to talk about the structure of the HTML file. So when it comes to HTML, we have, let me switch this on screen. So we have the doc type, which is the document type. So this is the HTML5. So the document type, you use the doc type, which is, let me zoom in. Um, is this visible enough? Or I need to zoom in more?
I think that's fine. I can see it.
Okay. All right. So when we take line 1, the doc type, so that is basically a syntax to tell the web browser you're using HTML5 or anyone else reading it that you're using HTML5. The main structure of HTML runs within this, which is the HTML element tag. So we have, let me do this. So you take your less than, do HTML, and you do this, and then you repeat the same thing, but then you have a forward slash before the opening. So we call this the opening HTML tag, and then if you are closing a tag or an element, you have the forward slash in front of it to close the element. So this is the root of your HTML document. You can add other attributes. So this is to specify the language. So you have an HTML, which is the element itself. Then you have the attributes, and the attributes complements or lets the elements perform additional functionalities. So for the basic structure, we need the HTML. Then we need 2 more tags. So on line 3, I'll put in the tag called the head. Then we have another tag called the body. Okay. So For the head, it takes in metadata about the website and also styles and then other files that are needed are being placed in the head. For the body, it takes in the content of the HTML of the website or the web page or the geoportal you're building. So for the head, we come in here, we have another tag in there, which is the title. So the title is also another HTML element. So you have the title element. And what the title element does is to give the website or whatever portal you have built its title. So I'll put in here web web portal training. And that is going to be the title of our document. So I have an extension in here which we can all also download. The extension is called Live Server. So this is the extension, Live Server. You can all install it. And what it basically does is to create a hot reloadable or live reloading feature for your static and then also dynamic pages when you are developing. So this extension, once you've installed it, you have the extension at the bottom of your screen, which is this. So click to run live server. So once you have the index.html and you click go live, it gives you a port. It gives you a port. So it gives you 5500. So from what I already had in here, I'll open localhost colon 5500. And then we have our day one. So we go into our day one. And inside our day one, we have our index.html. So if we look at it, we have our title here, which says web portal training. That is the same as the title we placed in here. So I'll try my best to do this side by side. Don't know how best this would work, but we'll give it a try. So we have it here. If we change this to here, if we save the file, automatically we can see at the top that the title of the document or the web page has changed. So from all this we are seeing at the top, we have the same thing as them, and then we have the same thing happening across all HTML pages, whether Django, whether React, whatever you are using. Once you have the title as the HTML in the head of the HTML, that becomes the title of the document. So I'll revert this back to web training. Then inside the body, I would like us to also talk about another element called the heading, which is the H1. So there are 6 levels of the heading. So let me put in a comment. Heading. So you have each one. This is each one. Heading. And we can do the same thing for H2. Mhm. And we have these headings, we have 6 levels of these. So just to speed through this, up to 3 here, 1 here, 5 here, and 6 here. 7, 9, 8, 5, 4, 3, okay. Okay, so let's save this and then have a look. So as you can all see, we have the heading here. So assuming we want a heading, you can say this is the heading 1. So the highest level of the heading is this. Then the next level would be H2. So the higher the level of the heading, the smaller the text for the heading. More often, what we use is the H1, H2, and then H3 most of the time. But you can also use H6 depending. From there, we'll talk about another element. So what I'm doing now, I forgot to speak about it, but this is creating a comment. So for the comments, it is just for readability and not for the browser to spit out. So whatever you place in the comments stays in the comment, and it's just as a guide for you. So the next tag we are going to talk about is the paragraph. The paragraph tag. So from the paragraph tag. So that is the P tag. The P tag is a paragraph tag. So this is just an introduction. So introduction to page. Okay. So once we save this, we get to see that also in here. We also have another tag, which is we have another tag, which is the list tag. So we have lists. So with this, we have 2 types of lists. So we have the ordered list, and then we have the unordered list. So the unordered list. In the ordered list, we put the opening tag is ordered. So let me do this. Then this is it. So we're going to use the same example. So in a list, you have the list container, which is the ordered or the unordered. Then inside there, we have the list item. So li. So in li, I'm going to use the days of the week. So we say Monday, Tuesday, we have Wednesday. And then if we save this, if we save it, we have it here. You see it's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. For unordered, if we do the same thing, which is basically just copying this and pasting it in here and saving this. We get to see the differences between the two of them. Then from here, another important link, another important element is the link. So for that, we have link. But the link is mostly used inside the head tag. But then to create the same functionality in here, we have another element, which is for links. But then it is being called the anchor tag. The anchor, the anchor tag or element, which is just the A tag. So for the A tag, creates a link for you, but that one takes in attributes. So we have now the severe West Africa, severe West Africa GitHub. So this is the text that's going to be shown. And then from here, the attribute that you need is href. Once you put in, so you put in your attributes, put an equal to sign, and then what the attributes represents. So that would be severe West Africa URL. We have that here. And then once we save this URL, once we come here and hover over it in the browser, it tells us that this will open the Severe West Africa GitHub. So once you click on it, automatically that's what it does. If you would want the functionality where if you click on the link, it opens a new tab. You can use the attribute called target, and then the target has blank self. There is parent and then there's stop, but mostly what we use is the blank tag. For the default functionality is the self. So you do underscore blank, and with just this, now our link that was opening initially, so initially was just opening within this, but when you click on it, you notice it opens a new tab and then does the redirection to the link there. Okay. To close this. From here, the next is the image. So for the image tag, we have an element called img. So the image is a self-closing tag, and then you have a source as an attribute. So where are you getting the image from? So this can be from your own directory or from a URL. So I'll pick let's say copy image address and then put it in here. And then we get that in here. So our image is coming from the image of the Severe West Africa GitHub profile. In the image, there's another attribute that is recommended, the alt, which is the alternative name. So to see the alt name, let's assume I make a mistake here. Let's go sure. Make a mistake inside the domain itself. So although the image tag is there, we are not seeing anything in here. So in case your resource is not loaded, it is a best practice to add an alt name to it, which is an alternative name. And also for screen readers and to also help with disability. When you add the alt name, screen readers can also detect the image and then print out the name. So you can say the Severe West Africa GitHub logo. And then you get this thing. So mostly if you see this image not found in an HTML, it's trying to say that the reference to that image is not shown, but this is what the image was supposed to show. So if I put my T back in, and I get this, so we have our image. Are there any questions so far? So this is just the basics, and these are some of the things we'll do after we are done and we are back from the break. But before that, if there are any questions, can come up and then we try to answer them before we go for the break. Also,
Okay, thank you. Lydia?
yeah.
Thank you, Manuel. So here, for example, if I leave for my website, small website, for example, if I leave the link here, for example, for Servier West Africa, GitHub, the logo, for example, here is for Servier.
Yeah.
That means I can also link up from the portals, from other websites, for example, in Servier Global, for example. And when that image one day, if it's changed, so do you think that will be automatically uploaded in that directly, or if I remove and change, for example, from Servier Global such logo and I replace it with something else? So is that can extract it automatically, or just I have to be always be careful and better to save and upload directly the logo directly, for example, such photo or link?
Yes. So ideally, it's advisable if you have an image folder if you have an images folder inside your repository or inside your folders for your application, it is advisable to use that as a reference. Because assuming the URL changes, it then breaks your code. So let's assume I have this image here for this particular icon. If GitHub decides to change this URL, instead of avatar, we decide to make it avatar. And then in my URL, I have it as avatars. So like with the S. So GitHub has it. Let's say GitHub updates it with just this without the S. And then in my code is with the S. Then I would have this every single time. And then I'll have to manually come in there and then update it. So mostly the links are being used for referencing your own sources. So let's say, assuming this URL for this recording is being hosted on the AFRIGIST service, we can just pick the URL from it and put it there. And so long as the URL doesn't change and it's still the same, regardless of wherever we hit the website from, we will still get that same thing. But if the URL changes, it means you have to come in there manually and come and update it every single time to get the updated version. Over.
Thank you.
Thank you, Emmanuel. Another question? No question? Emmanuel, please go to the index on Git on Visual Code. So I want you to show for the participant how to make this space between the head and the body, because first when you write them, they are on the same like column, but you
Okay.
make some money to bring them like level, another level. Do you got what I want me?
Yeah, I get what you mean. So
Yeah,
basically, initially you are saying I had it like this.
yeah. This is the
Yeah.
idea. You got it.
Okay. So the computer, as we
Yeah.
know, understands machine language and not um understands machine language and not the white spaces we know. So if I have all of this like this, the website will still read it exactly as it is with no issues. So let me just do that real quick. So if we have it like this, nothing really changes. We still have the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
So what I do is I try to put in spaces in there to make it easy for me to read. And also if there is someone else who needs to review the code or look at it, I make it easy that way. So what I do mostly is I have the root as the HTML, which is this and this. And if you highlight over it, it gives you the opening tag and then the closing tag when you click on it. So since I have this as the opening and closing tag, what I can do is I want the head to be separate from the body. So I come here and then I put in a tab. You can put in a tab or you can choose to put in spaces.
Mm-hmm.
But then I prefer tabs, although my
Okay.
tabs are set to spaces. So I've set it to 2 spaces. And then you do this. Then within, you put your 2 spaces or your tab in there. So then on the same level, we have all this. So now we have this. I put in a space here on line 3. I put in a space. So that I separate the opening HTML from the head. Then it tells me that whatever I have here, so if I do this, whatever I have here is within this HTML. And I drop it down, I know there's a space here for myself to see the difference between the HTML opening tag and then the head opening tag. Then everything within the head falls within the head, so they should all be on the same line. from here, whatever I find myself putting within the head, I want to also give it another level. So I put another tab in here to push it to the next level. So then when I'm looking at the code, I know that everything within the level below this stands within the head tag. So then if I use this same icon here to click and collapse it, I know everything within that part falls within the head. So the title is within the head.
Good.
Then I come down, give another space in here. Then for my body, I know we have an opening body tag and a closing body tag. So this is my opening and then closing. So my opening is on the line 8, closing is on line 35. So I put this on line 8, this on line 35, and then I reopen it. And I have this in here. But then I know all what I have here shall fall within the body tag. So I can also, another way to do it is to also go in here. Let me see if I'll find it.
That's okay. Don't go far.
Okay. Right. But then
Yeah.
there's one easier way to also do it. So there is this formatting tool called Prettier, which comes in by default for HTML and then in Visual Studio Code. So you can just do a Control A or a Command A if you're on Mac. Go to selection and then find format code. Where's format code? If I do this, let's remove that. Yeah. Let's run that. Do command A, right click, and then do format document. So one way to do it is that so you highlight everything with Control A or Command A, right click on the document, and then you can either format the document or format the selection.
Okay.
Once you do that, and that also automatically just brings in the spaces to make it available for you. And that is
Okay.
dependent on the prettier if you are using the HTML. That's a nice question. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. So here, for example, for the header, you
Yeah.
know that we have here in the left hand 6 heading. So
Yes.
here, when we want to format it, like we want to make the policy and the level of the policy, how can we do that? You can take only for the first head.
The
So
policy.
like
Come
if
again.
yeah, like if I want to make the head one like a Calibri or a Cambria, and I want the size to be 22 or 28. How can I
Okay.
do that? Yeah, I know that, for example, we can go inside the web browser and to do that by inspector. But
Yes.
on Visual Code, how can we do that?
Okay. So for that, you can just add the style to it. So
Yeah.
like I said, we haven't talked about CSS yet, but you can do that and then you do a style, then you do a
Mm,
font size.
one side. Yeah. Okay.
Yes, and then you can do your, let's say, 40 pixels,
Yeah. Okay.
and then you have it bigger.
Good.
You can choose to do it 4 pixels. And although you have it as H1, the inline style changes how it appears.
Okay.
So
Good.
when we are back from the break, we'll talk about CSS and then we'll play around with this. So we'll try and create a simple calendar or a simple a simple
Okay.
table form of something, and then we'll just play around with the CSS too.
Okay, thank you, Emmanuel. We are at the end of this first session. If someone have question to say, to ask, you have the floor. Whether or not we are going to stop it here, and we will start the second session after. Ilya, do you have something to say?
No, not really, but please access the drives Manuel is sending us, and Garba share already the drive where you can access, and also the schedules are here. So we'll start the next training session in the afternoon session at 1:30 GMT. So see you in 1 hour.
Okay.
I think for 58 minutes, so 57 minutes now. So if you have question, please bring the question, because it's opportunity for us to ask everything what we don't understand. And please don't be shy, because we are all of us are we are trying to scratch something new, So please don't hesitate to ask Emmanuel. So let's meet at 1:30 GMT.
Okay. Thank you, Kidian. Thank you for the participant. See you in 1 hour.